Hey guys, so I was just showing an in-depth presentation on the Sony Xperia 5 Mark II, which is going to be announced once this video is published, and I was able to ask all the questions that you would want answered. So first off, this phone is definitely a big upgrade over last year's Xperia 5. Similar how the Xperia 1 Mark II is a big upgrade over the 1. Now the Xperia 5 Mark II is going to be a smaller and less expensive version of the Xperia 1 Mark II, but it actually does have some upgrades as well, which is pretty rare for this type of phone. The screen, for example, is the same size as the Xperia 5 at 6.1 inches, but it now has a 120Hz refresh rate, and it's the first Sony phone to have that. It also goes up to 240Hz with motion blur reduction, and the touch response is going from 60 to 240Hz. That of course is going to be excellent for gaming, as will a 21:9 movie aspect ratio. The display is also OLED HDR, and it's not 4K like the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, it's only Full HD, but of course as expected for a phone of this size. On the front, the phone also has an 8MP camera, which unfortunately only records in 1080p mode, so this is probably the weakest thing about the phone. But on the back you have a triple camera setup. So here we have a standard wide angle and telephoto lens. So besides the lack of a depth sensor, which is on the Xperia 1 Mark II, this does appear to offer what that phone offers, but of course I will need to test out the cameras first. It's also the first phone ever to offer slow motion videos in 4K mode at 120 frames per second. The design overall is also very beautiful, similar to the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. Now for the internals, the phone has a Snapdragon 865 and 8GB of RAM, so it would have been nice to get the latest Snapdragon 865 Plus version, but that's only a minor upgrade, and it's probably not suitable yet for a phone this size. The storage is either 128 or 256, depending on the market, and it does support microSD. The battery is somehow 4000 milliamps, which is the same size as the larger Xperia 1 Mark II, so this is a big improvement over the 3140 battery in last year's Xperia 5. I'm glad that Sony's finally focusing on battery again, because they used to be the market leaders in that. But yeah, with the Xperia 1 Mark II, big improvement. And of course the Xperia 5 Mark II is going to be a massive upgrade as well. The phone has stereo speakers, which should sound great based on how the Xperia 1 Mark II speakers sound. It also has a headphone jack, which I'm really happy to see. And of course stuff like USB Type-C and a fingerprint scanner on the side. It unfortunately does not have wireless charging, but it is water resistant IP68. In addition, it also has a Google Assistant key, which is great to have since I do use Google Assistant daily. Now before I get into the final details, I'm not going to be covering everything that was in the presentation in this video because the presentation was an hour long. So if there's something I don't cover, let me know in the comments below because there is a good chance that I'll know it. Alright, so final details. So you can pre-order the phone on September 29th at 10 a.m., at least in the United States, and it's going to be in stores on December 4th. So it's still a bit of a wait, but at least it's not as long as the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. The price is $950, which is a lot better than the Xperia 1 Mark II at $1,200. So if you guys remember, my biggest complaint about the 1 Mark II was the price, but $950 is definitely a lot more competitive. Now in the USA, the phone is only available in black, but the international market will have more colors, as they always do. One more thing the USA won't be getting is 5G. But once again, many international markets will be getting that. The phone is going to be unlocked in the US, and it works on Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Cricket. All in all, the phone looks extremely promising, and it surprisingly has very few compromises for a phone of this size and price. I was definitely not expecting this to have a 4000 milliamp battery or 120Hz display. Now, that said guys, I'm going to hopefully get the review unit shortly. So again, on paper this looks great, but do have to actually test it out first. And of course I'll be getting this as soon as it's available in December. Alright guys, so be sure to check out my Xperia 1 Mark II comparison and reviews. And let me know in the comments below if you have any questions.